We also have yet another example, one of thousands, of an illegal alien attacking an American citizen. In this case, it is a Venezuelan migrant charged with raping a 13-year-old in Virginia. And part of me hesitates going there. As I was talking to Chris Hand during our crossover today, I mentioned part of me feels like I don't want to rubberneck this. I don't want to be that guy that's looking at the accident and describing it to everyone who can't see the accident, how disgusting and tragic and horrible it truly is. But I feel like we need to do that. Most of you are in the car with us. Most of you are in the bus with us. Most of you get it. Most of you listening to Supertalk 99.7 WTN, whether you agree with me or not regarding how to fix it, you get it. One of the reasons that the Democrats are so desperate to lie, cheat, and steal their way out of this issue involving illegal immigration is because they know you get it. They know you understand it. They know you're disgusted by it. But there are some that perhaps are on the fence that need to understand. They need to face the reality of what's going on. The political left won't. The mainstream media won't. But if it does not fit their narrative, they ignore it. And that's where the immigration story and the story of a Venezuelan rape butts up against Justin Jones. Brother Jones, as he's known on the X machine. With all of the investigative reporting that goes on in this town, with all of the Phil Williams of the world, diving deep into our elected officials and making sure there's not a hint of hypocrisy, where is the investigative story about Janisha Harris and her accusations against Justin Jones? I've been talking about it for what, Bell, a year now? Over a year?
Yeah.
And no one else will discuss this. No one else will sit down with Justin Jones and address this issue, and let's hear his side of the story. I've repeatedly offered Brother Jones an opportunity to come on this radio show and defend himself. We'll talk about this in just a moment. How the mainstream media, even local media here in the state of Tennessee, they are willing to turn their heads the other way and ignore sexual assaults, accusations of sexual assault, rapes, and murders. If it doesn't fit the narrative, they're going to ignore it. All right, before we get into the latest with our favorite socialist, Justin Jones, I don't say that as a pejorative. I think he would like for me to say that, I think. Anyway, before we get into the latest, I will... I'm going to back up and I'm going to share this story with you once again. This is not my story. And this is not a story that I've had the ability to go any further into investigating because I tried to reach out to Janisha Harris. And sadly, I believe that someone has gotten to Janisha Harris to the point where she's no longer speaking. Maybe someone could convince her that it's time to come forward. But I just want to read to you what she publicly... Now, Janisha Harris was a friend of Justin Jones. She was a fellow activist with Justin Jones at the time, and this was May of 2023, so it's about a year ago that I became aware of this, or at least the time that I documented it online. I made sure to memorialize this post for fear that Janisha would be convinced by someone in the shadows to delete it. I don't know if that's happened or not. But the woman's name is Janisha Harris. Geneisha Harris. I don't say that to out her. I only say that because her Facebook is available publicly, and this is what she wrote on Facebook. I don't know that I've ever read this entire accusation. We've alluded to it, and I think this is important. Because you've got a guy in the Tennessee General Assembly that no one seems interested in investigating his background. Now, we know that Justin Jones has been an activist for a long period of time, and that's all well and good. And he engaged in activity during the summer of 2020 that is disgusting, distasteful, and criminal in some respect. He jumped up. Wasn't he the one that jumped up and down on top of a police car? Well, if you see the shots of him jumping up and down on top of the police car, Janisha Harris is in that shot. She's in that photo. She was an ally of Justin Jones until this. Reading from, and once again, these are not my accusations. These are Janisha Harris's accusations. Citizen of the state of Tennessee. I have to speak about this publicly because my spirit won't let me sleep tonight if I don't. I will keep the victims' names privately, but I will speak the so-called leader by name. For almost a week now, there's been a group of protesters demonstrating outside of the Capitol to advocate for the removal of Nathan Bedford's bust. They've been there day and night, camping out to get their point across. Last night, a homeless man sexually assaulted 2 women who were protesting. Now, she wrote this, by the way, on, just so you know, she wrote this on June 18th of 2020. So one would presume that this incident happened on June 17th of 2020. Last night, a homeless man sexually assaulted 2 women who were protesting. 2 different incidents, same man. Nashville's favorite activist, Justin Jones, among others, witnessed it. When the discussion came up to report what happened, he said that the women should not report it because it would change the narrative of why they're actually protesting, that the incident would overpower the advocacy. Janisha Harris continues. Number 1, you watched someone be groped and you did not intervene. Number 2, you dismissed a sexual assault grievance for the sake of keeping things focused on the movement and not the violence that took place. I don't trust the police. I don't like the police. Never have. Never will. But something should have been done to protect these women and handle the matter afterwards. I've been telling people about egotistical, prideful, and patriarchal activism here in Nashville. I cannot stand by and watch it continue to happen. For the, quote, black people need to deal with things in-house, end quote, let me stop you in your tracks. This is why we have so much unsolved trauma. We don't speak it. And we sweep serious matters under the rug. But not this time. I left our student movement last year because of this person's ego, pride, and callous leadership, and I will continue to speak out against it. This movement has no place for it. Alawatian, I don't know who that is warning people about her abuser. She even reported her abuser, and no one listened. No one stepped in. No one did anything, and now she's dead because her abuser killed her. Being homeless and being black is no excuse to defend sexual assault of any kind. No more patriarchal activism. No more callous leadership. No more, no more watching violence against women and not stepping in. We won't have any women who experienced what Alawata Lynn did in Nashville. I don't know that person, so at least not under my watch. Bleep you to Justin, his fake activism, and anyone who defends what he did. Love and hugs to the victims. If anyone has a problem, I'll be back in Nashville tomorrow. Come see me. Now, I don't know the accuracy of what Janisha Harris saw, but I know in the summer of 2020, we were in the midst of hashtag Me Too, right? Isn't that right? We had a lot going on in the summer of 2020. In the midst of the COVID-19 government power grab. We're in the midst of BLM riots and Antifa riots as a result of the death of George Floyd. George Floyd, who was largely responsible for his death. That doesn't get talked about anymore. And in the meantime, we were told if you see something, say something. And that violence against women would not be acceptable any longer. Now, I imagine Justin Jones has his version of this story. When is an intrepid reporter in the state of Tennessee going to have the intestinal fortitude, the cojones, to ask him about it. This is still live. This is still real. You have a sitting member of the Tennessee legislature that is accused of covering up sexual assault so as to not change the narrative of what he perceived his movement to be. This woman, Janisha Harris, she claims to have witnessed it and witnessed Justin Jones witnessing it. And Justin Jones then actively said, we don't need to do anything about this. We need to let this go. We don't need to call the police. And so he didn't. And no one reported it. And a sexual assault went unreported. How often is this happening in the black community? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I wish I did. Sad if so. That you have people deciding not to report assaults on others because they don't want to get the popo involved? Are you kidding me? Women are being attacked, beaten, brutalized, raped, murdered. And apparently Representative Justin Jones had information before becoming a representative about an individual that assaulted at least 2 women outside of the Tennessee Capitol, and no one will even ask him about it. In the meantime, you're digging into every aspect of the background of every Republican on Capitol Hill, and that's fine. That's fair game. But I just wish the Phil Williams of the world, in between accepting awards from these liberal award associations for all the great investigative reporting you're doing, I just wish the Phil Williams of the world would, for 1 second, pause and dig deep and investigate Justin Jones and his background. At very least, call into question what he remembers from that event. And perhaps the poor women who were assaulted might get some justice. No. No, instead, media outlets like Channel 5 and others, they elevate this performative ass. And that's what he is. Now, I don't pretend to be a friend of the guy, but he's welcome. I've repeatedly said that he can come on the radio show and present his side of things. I'm an open book. Anybody that wants to challenge me on this radio show is welcome. Anybody. Open forum. Secondarily, I'll go anywhere that Justin Jones is willing to go to sit down and have a discussion about any issue that he wants to talk about at any time, day or night. Now, what does this have to do with today? Now, I just wanted to get the background out, okay? So there's a credible accusation in the summer of 2020 that Justin Jones witnessed a sexual assault and actively covered up the sexual assault. Which, I don't know, I don't want to overstate my case here because I don't think I have to. Would that not, I mean, at that point, you become a conspiracy to the assault, don't you? Or something, an accessory to the crime at least?
Well, but you got to remember, he's working towards a higher cause, so that makes it okay.
Oh, that's right.
He's trying to better our world by making us all much more indebted to the government. So we've got to get that done, and we got to. Sometimes you got to ignore some things to get to the goal.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't matter that Michael Brown did not have his hands up saying, hands up, don't shoot. It doesn't matter that he was charging the police officer and the police officer was defending his life in Ferguson, Missouri. What matters is the broader movement, right? It doesn't matter that George Floyd had large amounts of drugs in his system. It doesn't matter that George Floyd was trying to pass off counterfeit $20 bills at the time of his arrest. What matters is that Derek Chauvin, and I'm not saying that Derek Chauvin didn't deserve to go to jail for his inability to assess the situation appropriately and for his complicity in the death. But none of that other stuff matter. You're not allowed to bring any of that up. And you're not allowed to bring up the fact that Justin Jones is credibly accused of covering up a sexual assault. Not by me. By a member of his own tribe. By Janisha Harris, who was an ally of his. In the meantime, Justin Jones has this to say.
Some may argue that this is a neo-Nazi rally happening every time we convene in this body. But what we have to call attention to...
Yesterday on the floor of the House of Representatives in the Tennessee legislature, Justin Jones said some may argue that this is a neo-Nazi rally every time we convene this body. He has repeatedly referred to his fellow House of Representatives members as neo-Nazis. And no one seems to, is there nothing we can do about this? Is this the type of representation you want from Justin Jones, state representative for District 52, who repeatedly blocks people that challenge him on his official media account on the X machine?
Well, in fairness, Phil Williams blocked me too.
Phil Williams is not an elected representative. And there is a case before the United States Supreme Court, but that's good to note, by the way. A lot of people have blocked you because you're mean.
I'm not nice on Twitter. I am part of the cesspool that, as you described.
Oh, yeah. That's part of the reason I like you. No, there's a Supreme Court case that is determining whether or not blocking someone on social media is akin to disallowing certain people from your office time or whatever. And I think that those individuals that are suggesting that are going to win that case, you're allowed your own personal account, but you can't use your state account. You can't use your official account as a state representative to block certain people because of the way that they think or feel and not block others. Anyway.